Now 6:44 in your Capitol Watch, the U.S. military struck 4 Iranian drones and a ground control station overnight. Earlier yesterday, President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio reported progress on a potential peace deal. Now it's unclear if these new strikes will derail that agreement. So let's go live to Scripps News Group congressional correspondent Nate Reed. And Nate, what has President Trump said about prospects for a deal, and has he talked about how the war might impact midterms?
Yeah, he has, Tony. And look, the president saying yesterday in the hours before those strikes, which, by the way, according to some news reports, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, has come back and retaliated, attempting to strike a U.S. base in Kuwait, waiting for more details on that. But at the same time, the president saying yesterday that he does not think about the midterm elections when conducting these negotiations. Furthermore, the president also making clear that he believes Iran might be trying to run out the clock to stall negotiations as part of this push to try and reach a deal, in part because of the politics around the midterm elections. Now, it's no secret that public opinion polling has shown that a lot of Americans do not like this ongoing war with Iran. There's concerns over the high price of gasoline. The president, though, outlining what a deal might look like if they're able to reach one. That latest attack, of course, throwing a lot of questions into the mix, but the president saying that no money would be sent to Iran, that they would not unlock sanctions relief, the Strait of Hormuz, that critical shipping corridor would reopen and basically become international waters yet again, and that ships would allow free transit. There would be no tolls, and the U.S. would provide certain security guarantees. But again, more questions than answers this morning, Nick, about the status of those peace talks and whether those latest volley of shots between the U.S. and Iran have derailed anything. Central Command telling the Scripps News Group, 2 sources in the U.S. government, saying that those strikes yesterday, those defensive strikes, were engineered to keep the ceasefire in place. But now with the U.S. and Iran continuing to trade a barrage of fire, in the last several days, a lot more questions than answers about just how long this very fragile, apparently very fragile ceasefire can actually hold, Tony.